Grace and peace to you, my dear brothers and my dear sisters in the Lord. Today, I would like to share with you a reflection that is titled Knowing When to Escape. Knowing When to Escape. And I would like to read from the Gospel of Jesus according to St. John chapter 6 from verse 1 to verse 15. Sometime after this, Jesus crossed to the far shore of the Sea of Galilee, that is the Sea of Tiberias, and a great crowd of people followed him because they saw the signs he had performed by healing the sick. Then Jesus went up on a mountainside and sat down with his disciples. The Jewish Passover festival was near. When Jesus looked up and saw a great crowd coming toward him, he said to Philip, "Where shall we buy bread for these people to eat?" He asked this only to test him, for he already had in mind what he was going to do. Philip answered him, "It would take more than half a year's wages to buy enough bread for each one to have a bite." Another of his disciples, Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, spoke up, "Here's a boy with 5 small barley loaves and 2 small fish, but how far will they go among so many?" Jesus said, "Have the people sit down." There was plenty of grass in that place, and they sat down. About 5,000 men were there. Jesus then took the loaves, gave thanks, and distributed to those who were seated as much as they wanted. He did the same with the fish. When they had all had enough to eat, he said to his disciples, "Gather the pieces that are left over. Let nothing be wasted." So they gathered them and filled 12 baskets with the pieces of 5 barley loaves left over by those who had eaten. After the people saw the sign Jesus performed, they began to say, "Surely this is the prophet who is to come into the world." Jesus, knowing that they intended to come and make him king by force, withdrew again to a mountain by himself. My dear friends in the Lord, this is a very familiar story in the Bible by what we popularly call the feeding of the 5,000. And it's a parable that is very rich in lessons and very deep meanings. And I just want to share with us a few things that we can pick from the parable. But my focus today, what I want us to reflect on, is knowing when to escape. And that comes at the latter part of the parable. The parable of today reminds us of the need to trust God in difficult situations. And I believe some of us are going through situations that we are unsure, we are worried, we are perhaps anxious. The Lord is reminding us to trust him because he's got us. When Jesus was asking Philip, "How are we going to feed these people?" the Bible tells us he himself, he knew what he was going to do. So what is shocking to you, what is unsure today, God already knows and he has taken care of it. I believe that's a message that somebody needs to hear today. And then Andrew found out a boy who had 5 barley loaves and 2 fish. And Andrew did not hesitate to bring the boy to Jesus. For the times we've seen Andrew in the Bible, was always bringing someone to the Lord. And Andrew as a person reminds us of our vocation, of our mission, to bring people to the Lord. To bring people to the Lord. Now, this boy had just 5 barley loaves and 2 fish. But it was brought to Jesus. That's a powerful message for us. What you have may be little, but bring them to the Lord. Your little plus Jesus becomes great. Sometimes we complain that what we have is little, my talent is insignificant, I don't have much, I can't do much. But when you bring this to the Lord, in the hands of the Lord, little will always become great. Then we have, and I love this particular message, the power of thanksgiving. Jesus had just 5 barley loaves, he had 2 fish, but the first thing he did when he received them, he lifted his eyes and he gave thanks. What was he giving thanks for? For 5 barley loaves and 2 fish. Insignificant, you would say, but yet Jesus found it enough to give thanks for. And Jesus is teaching us a very powerful message on Thanksgiving, learning to give thanks. What you have may be little. Your family can be like those 5 barley loaves, but remember to give thanks. Your job can be like that. Remember to give thanks. What you have may not be enough, but learn to give thanks. Then, before Jesus shared the bread, he told the people to sit down. Imagine about 5,000 men, not counting women and children. He had them sit before he would share. That's a very powerful lesson on orderliness. Our God is an orderly God, a God of orderliness. He's not a God of confusion. He does things orderly. And that's a message for all of us. Am I orderly? Is my life orderly? Do I appreciate order? So a God of orderliness. Now, 2 last things I want to quickly pick before I go to the message of today properly. Jesus told the disciples, pick up the broken pieces. And as I think of that, what comes to mind is some of us, our lives are like those broken pieces. You've been broken, disappointed. You feel like you failed yourself and you failed other people. The Lord is telling you, still pick your broken pieces, because I can still do something with it. And I just feel strongly like that's a message for someone. Still pick your broken pieces, because God still needs you. And Jesus told his disciples so that nothing gets wasted. Our God is not a God of wastage, he's a God of abundance. Now, when people saw the miracle of Jesus, their response was, oh, this man who has given us bread, let's make him king so that we can have bread every day. And they wanted to make Jesus king, but Jesus escaped. He knew when to escape. He knew when to run away. They were coming to make him king because they understood that he must be the prophet like Moses. In Deuteronomy chapter 18 verse 15, Moses told the people, God will give you a prophet like myself. He's the one you should listen to. So they felt Jesus was that prophet like Moses, of course, who would not just give people bread, but would lead them to freedom. But Jesus escaped because he has not come for what they wanted him for. He has not come to give them physical bread. So he wouldn't take that kingship. He wouldn't want them to make him that kind of king. And the message I want to bring from here is we need to learn something from Jesus. We need to not give people permission to make us who they want us to be. Some people have said, oh, I used to be very kind, but because of the people I'm working with, because of the people around you, some people have become so vile, so wicked, bitter, unhappy, because we have allowed people to make us who they want us to be like. Some people have become slaves of others because of money, because of what they want from others. The question is, are you who God wants you to be, or have you allowed people to make you who they want you to be? Let's learn from Jesus today, who wouldn't allow the people to make him a bread king. Focus on who God has called you to be, and do not be deceived or misled by the praises and the pressure of people. May the Lord bless us, and the Spirit of God teach us how to stay focused and be who God wants us to be. Amen.